Hello and welcome back, everyone. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're playing Bangers and Mash. And when I actually sort of reveal the puzzle, you'll feel a little bit patriotic, given some of the color sets. Actually, I am going to sort of flip to it very briefly so you see it. You've got kind of very obviously here the Union Jack drawn out in blue, red lines. I guess technically white borders are in there. So if you are British, you could feel very patriotic about today's puzzle. But I guess also, given it's picked, I'm not going to call it a national dish. I think if it's fish and chips, then I would call it a national dish. But bangers and mash, I would say, is probably a close second or third, anyhow. Now, I had a look at sort of the content I've already scheduled, and I'm partly conscious of the fact that this puzzle is going out on the 11th of November. So just please appreciate this was entirely coincidental. I'm not trying to send a message, and I'm certainly not trying to offend anyone. But I hope that all of you have a good Remembrance Day, and we'll take a look at the puzzle. Oh, I had to sort of pick between what would be sort of the most British scene I can think of. I guess I probably should have picked a pub, but in my mind I was debating whether the right thing would be the Houses of Parliament, sort of fairly iconic, or Buckingham Palace. You know, what would sort of represent the Union Jack best? And you can see I've definitely gone for the Houses of Parliament. I'd be interested in your thoughts. What would you pick? And no, I don't think it's necessarily to do anything to do with monarchy versus republican. That's just, I don't know, that's just my personal association anyway. Right, enough of all of this. Let's take a look at the actual puzzle. So you can see it is actually fairly busy, despite the absence of any digits, of course. I think we're all used to that by now. There's a lot of lines, and there was actually a few comments about that on Logic Masters Germany. So the way I'm going to sort of talk about the rule sets today is I'll do a very quick run through of the rules, but then for anyone that sort of wants to kickstart at that point, feel free to. But then I'll take 1 or 2 more minutes to make sure that I comment about, they address some of the comments are about this puzzle. Because I think a lot of the criticism of this puzzle that was on there and the relatively low rating of what I think looks like will be a really fun puzzle has probably more to do with the fact that people rushed reading the rules. And I'm going to pay in particular attention to some of the rules that people have overlooked and some of the implications of them based on the comments that they've made. So enough of that lengthy introduction. Let's just get into the puzzle. So we got burgers and mash in brackets Union Jack by willpower. So following rule sets are normal Sudoku rules apply. So that means the digits 1 to 9 in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. Now we have what Will has described as an anti-whispers numbers on the red lines. So on the red lines, numbers are either consecutive or 2 apart from their neighbor on the line. So for example, if this is a 1 up here on this red line, this would either be consecutive, as in a 2, or 2 apart from its neighbor, 3. So almost like polar opposite of the German whispers lines is, just because we have a 1 in here doesn't mean this is 6, 7, 8, or 9. It actually has to be extremely close digits along all of these red lines. And that includes the diagonals. They're also red lines. Clearly, I can't select them. Let's try that again. They're also red lines. I think that part is obvious. Now, the sum of each of the 4 diagonal red lines is in the top cell. So we've got 4 red diagonals, and you can see that each of them has a sum on it. So the sum of these 4 red lines, 4 diagonals, let's pick this one first, is 30. What else does it say? The 2 lines that cross at the center of the puzzle are considered separate lines. So we've got 1 line here, a 2nd line there. They happen to cross in the middle and they share that digit, but you're not meant to try and apply. This will be very difficult to do, I imagine. That this somehow that this is meant to be adjacent to this or something along those lines. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere, I somehow skipped it, that the numbers on the red lines are unique. Does it say that anywhere, or am I just... Yes, it does say the cent digit is odd and numbers do not repeat on red lines. So I think for the center red lines, that's fairly obvious. That's a row of Sudoku, therefore it's the digits 1 to 9 and none of it will repeat. Same for the vertical one here. I think very useful for the diagonals. We'll come back to that in a bit, but these have 4 unique digits. These have 4 unique digits. Right, Kropki pairs. So numbers with a white dot between them are consecutive, and numbers with a black dot between them are in a ratio of 2 to 1. Regular viewers of this channel will be very familiar with this. So we got a black dot in here. Let's place a 2 in this corner. So that black dot adjacent cell would either have to be 1, as in 1 times 2 is 2, or 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So as long as it's in a 1 to 2 ratio. Now, if it is a white dot, we know that they are consecutive, or a different way of saying that, they are 1 away from the 2. So 2 minus 1 would be 1, or 2 plus 1 would be 3. So that would be totally valid pencil marking here. Okay. Now we also have numbers with a grey dot between them satisfy both black and white dot requirements, such as this grey dot here, or I assume this grey dot there. Now I'm not going to try and interpret that rule for you because I think it essentially forces the pencil marking. So if I actually try and explain that rule any further, other than it needs to be adjacent and in a 2 to 1 ratio, I think I'll be partly solving the puzzle for you. Now, lastly, we have dots shown at cell corners refer to the numbers on the diagonal line going through the dot. So you can see that not all the Kropki dots are essentially very obviously between 2 cells. Some of them are on a diagonal, such as this one, this black dot in the middle. And what Will's rule here explains is it's not that all the diagonals are in a 2 to 1 ratio. So it's not saying that this is a 1 and this is a 2, for example. All it's saying is that these diagonal Kropki dots only apply when they are on lines. So it's only these 2 cells and not these 2 that are in a 1 to 2 ratio. And the same could be said of this one, same could be said of that one. So that's something to just bear in mind as you're solving it. Last thing that it goes on to say is not all possible dots are given, and numbers on blue lines may repeat if others allow it to do so. So no shortage of rules today, which I'm hoping is going to be very helpful given we have 0 digits in the grid, almost as usual. Now, if you want to get going, this is the time for you to play along. Link will be in the description down below. And before I actually kick off my own kind of solve, I'm going to just say a few more words for a minute or so. So there was a few comments about the blue lines being a distraction. And whilst I think it does make this quite a busy grid, I'm not sure it's entirely true because, for example, you need the blue line here to be able to understand that this black Kropki dot that's on a diagonal is applying for these 2 cells and not these 2. So whilst clearly the blue lines are mainly decorative, they are important for actually distinguishing some of those Kropki dots in here that are on the diagonal. Now, the last rule I just want to comment on is the red line. Because I think if you think about it, where would you put, it's the fact that it's either consecutive or no more than 2 away makes this line actually surprisingly restricted. I mean, I could try and put 9 in the center, for example, and have 7 and 8 on either side. That would be a valid solve, for example, and then I can go down from there either side. But in general, I think it's actually going to be quite restricted because if I go with, it's almost like it's 9, 7, 5, 3, 1. Even if I do all odd digits, you're going to end up being forced to do something like then 2, 4, 6, and 8. So there's a very clear structure to these lines. I'm not entirely sure I've wrapped my mind around, but I'm sure as we solve it, it will actually come together. Well, that's plenty said about this puzzle. Link is in the description down below as per usual to play along. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. So I mentioned in the intro that these are basically a gift. Because if you think about it, there are only 2 digits that can both be a white Kropki dot away, as in adjacent, and a black Kropki dot away, as in a 2-to-1 ratio. So this is actually forced. All the gray cells are forced. The other thing that's also forced is if you have a look at these sums, because they are 4 unique digits, I know that this is 3, 4 because 1, 2, 3, 4 will add up to 10. 3, 4 in here again. I'm sure this black dot can help us actually disambiguate. I'll come back to that in a second. But the other thing as well is the 30 is forced. This is 6, 7, 8, 9. No other 4 unique digits is going to allow us to get to 30 under normal Sudoku rules. And these black Kropki dots give us a bit of an order. So this is 6, 8. 6, 8 again. 7, 9, 7, 9. We don't have kind of the same distinction up here, but we do have these white Kropki dots that will force a bit of a structure. Essentially, because there are 2 Kropki dots, it means that there are 2 pairs that are consecutive. Now, you're going to really struggle to make a pair that, for example, has 2 pairs that use the 7s and 8s twice. So, for example, 9 and 8 could work in here, but I then can't reuse the 8 down there. So essentially what we actually have is a 6-7 pair and an 8-9 pair. But enough of all of that. It's almost 2 minutes. What I'm going to do now is actually start solving it. So black Kropki dots here, that's got to be a 4, that's got to be a 2, that's got to be a 1, 2, 1. That 4 is looking at that 3, 4, that's a 3, 4, 3. 4 is looking across, that's a 3, that's a 6. That's got to be a 7 because it's a white Kropki. That's a 9, that's an 8, that's a 4. Not 6, not 7, not 8, and not 9. I really don't get a lot more than that, do I? No, maybe. Well, here is something. 1, 2, 4, 8. Looking at this black Kropki dot, this can only be 3 and 6. This can't be the 3 because it needs to be adjacent to either a 2, which is taken, or a 4, which is taken. So that is 6, 3. This is now 5 or 7. And this is not 6. A 7 or 9 can only be joined with a 6 or 8, so that's not 7. And this is 5, 7, or 9. What else do we have that's been given? This black Kropki dot maybe next. So this is either, so it's not 1 or 2. Technically I could do 4, 2, for example. 4, 8 as well would work. Or 3, 6. Actually 4, 2 doesn't work. I've got a 1, 2 pair in here. So 4, 8 works in any direction, I'm going to say. Can it work in any direction? 8, 7, 6. Yes, it can work in any direction. So 8 and 4. Or 3 and 6 as well. That was nowhere near as helpful as I thought it was going to be. Come on, we must know more than this. We know that, for example, this is not 3 or 6 because they're down here. So this is from 1, 2, 4, and 8. This is from 1, 2, 4, and 8. Not enough information. Right, what else am I missing? Here next. This is not 1 or 2 or 8. So I could do 4 and 2. 4, 3, and 6. So in general, I'm thinking about this column now, because it's just got a large number of white Kropki dots in them. There is essentially a series of 3 digits and another series of 3 digits. And I'm just having a think about that, and I'm thinking this is probably more restricted than it may seem. What am I thinking now? So essentially I can do a run of 3, 4, 5. That works. 4, 5, 6 seems to work. And then 6, 7, 8. And it's ascending because I can't do 6, 5, 4. It would conflict. But if I do 6, 7, 8, I assume then I would need to do 3, 4, 5 and put a 9 in here. So essentially the run of 3 is either 3 to 5. I guess I'm going to try and articulate this a bit better. There are, just think of it as a number line, and we need 3 consecutive digits. And essentially I can either shift the lines as such. I'm going to actually use a bit of color in any direction. So I can shift the blue kind of 1 cell down and have the digit in the middle exposed. Or I can move the blue kind of 1 cell up and have the digit at the end exposed. Or I could just move them all down and have the blue and the green at the very end of the number line and then the highest digit exposed. So essentially what I'm thinking is there is either a 3 because it's running from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or a 6 because I'm doing 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, or a 9 because I'm doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a 9 in the middle. Yeah, there you go. That wasn't too difficult to explain, I hope. But let me see what is possible. So we've determined that I'm not sure I can put an 8 in here, for example, because I can't do ascending. I can't do 8, 9, 10. Now, I could do descending, I guess. I could do 8, 7, 6, put a 9 in here, and then... No, 3 is not here. Because if I place an 8, I'll do descending 8, 7, 6. The 9 is no longer part of any group, because I've already used the 8. And then I'm left with 3, 4, 5 in here, which doesn't work because there's a 3 in there. So that can't be 8, that can't be 4. This is tough going if this is the way that we're meant to solve it. I may be just missing some obvious other deduction that I need to be doing, but I'm going to finish this and then look for anything else that's obvious. Now I can do 6, 7, 8. Can I actually? I'm not sure I can. Because 6, 7, 8 would again place a 9 in here, and then I'm again forced to put 3, 4, and 5 in there. And we've established I can't do descending. I can't do 6, 5, 4 because it will conflict. So I think what I'm saying is this cannot be a 6 either. And we've got a nice 6, 8 pair. I mean, there was already a 6, 8 pair implied between these two, but it's a little bit clearer now. So this is either 3, 4, 5 or 4, 5, 6, which means there's definitely 7 and 8 down here because they're nowhere else in the column, forcing this to be a 5. And now I either have 7, 8, 9 in this order because there is a 9 in here, forcing that order. The other possibility would be 6, 7, 8, which actually isn't possible because there is a 6 in here. So this is forced. This has to be 7, 8, 9. Because it's not 3, 4, 5. It's not 6, 7, 8. It's no combination of them. It's not 4, 5, 6 or whatever else it may be. This is 7, 8, 9. Down in the middle is 1, 2, 4, I'm going to say. Not 4, not 2. 1, 2 pair. This is quite helpful. And therefore this now is not 9. This is 3 or 6. So that's the loose digit from up here. 7s. No. 9s. Nope. Yeah, not helpful at all. All that hard work and it really wasn't that helpful. So what are these? This is a 5-9 pair. I know that 7 is down here. I know that 6 is up here. But the 1 and 8 are basically loose. So 6, 7, and a 1 and 8 somewhere. Okay. More Sudoku. So more Sudoku, but maybe also more black Kropki Dots. So for example, I know that the 6 is between these two cells because it's not down here and we need 6, 7, 8, and 9. There's a 6 in there. This is not 3, 6. So the options include 1, 2. This 1 forces a bit of an order. Actually, the 8 is also in here because it's not in this cell. So this is 1, 2, or 4 is kind of the conclusion of this, with a forced 2 in here. And the reason this is helpful is I was also looking at Sudoku just earlier, and this 2 looks up there, but I can't also place a 2 in here either, because this is on a white Kropki dot, and both the 1 and the 3 are not available. So 2 is restricted to these 3 cells. The more interesting thing, though, is that the 2 is restricted to these 3 lower rows in box 1, and therefore this can no longer be a 2. If I put a 2 in here, I've broken the puzzle. That's not a 2, that's not a 2, this will be a 2, and then I'm forced to have another 2 in the same row. So that's the 2, that's the 1, that's not a 1, that's now a 2, 4 pair. That's not a 1, that's not a 1, there's a 1 up here. Kind of X-wing with these. Three is not here, 3 is not there. That's a 1, 3 pair. I'll take that. And then we've got 5 and the 7, 9. This 7, 9. And I don't know where they go. Okay, it's a tougher puzzle than I was expecting. So, yeah. Well, that's not a 5. That's another 7, 9. Ah. So 4 and 5 are definitely in here. Then there is the loose 3, 6, the loose 6, 8, and the loose 7, 9. So there isn't even anything I can pencil mark in there. Apologies, I've gone very quiet all of a sudden. I know that 5s are in here. This is from 4 or 8, and this is 4, 5, 8, with a definite 5 in there. Have I used all the clues? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, 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 yeah. This black Kropki dot. So we know it's not 3, 6. And it's not 2. This is 4, 8. Which means 4s, no 4s. This is a 5, 8 pair. This is a 4. In fact, 8s means no 8s. That is helpful. Finally, this is the 8. That's the 8, and therefore that's the 9. This is the 6, that's the 7. I now need 5 and 9. This 9 tells me the order. That's the 9, that's the 5. Forcing a 4 in here, and therefore now 3, 5, 6, 7. I need 9 and 8 in here. That's 8, 9. That is 6. That is 3, 5, 7. 3, not 4. And we can probably start to use these fairly soon, and I probably will in a moment. Just looking for anything else obvious I'm missing. I haven't really thought about this white Kropki dot, so other than to exclude the 2, it may be worthwhile thinking about what it actually is. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not 5, 6 because that couldn't be used in here. 6, 7 is possible. 7, 8 is possible. And I assume 8, 9. Yeah, not very helpful. This is a 4. I'm just taking a look at these 4s. That's a 2. This is a 2, 5 pair now. And this whole thing now is made up of 6, 7, 8, and 9s. This 7 is in here. The 6 is in there. And then the 8, 9s are unknown. This 4 has to be in here, not a 4. I can replace this with a pair of, it's 1, 6, isn't it? Looks like it. And therefore 7, 8. And therefore another 1, 2 pair. Okay. Right, back to these reds, these red lines. I am absolutely certain this is a 5. And the reason for that is I need it to be adjacent or 2 away from these 2 digits, which are 4 and 6. Now, if I pick 3, I'm too far away from the 6. If I pick 7, I'm too far away from the 4. This is given. Continuing with the same idea, 6, 7, 3. This has to be 2 away from the 4. That's a 2, 1, 1, 2. That's got to be the 8, the 9, not 8s. Therefore not 9s. Have we got more to do? This cannot be, this is 2 or 1, sorry, 3 or 2, pardon me. Both available. This is 7 or 8. I mean, I'm very tempted to think it's sort of very similar to this line in that it's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's no real guarantee of that, though. I think that's the challenge. What I can say, though, is I'm almost certain this is the 1. Because I essentially, I've got too big of a gap. You know, up here is a 7, down here is a 3. There's no way I'm getting up from 3 all the way back up to 7. So this run, whatever it is made up of 1, 2, 3. And this 2, 3 here gives me the 1. And this 2 gives me now the 3 and the 2. The 3 gives me this 1, 3 as well. So at least it isn't just a simple 9 to 1 run because you've got 2, 3 kind of reversed here. 4 gives me more. We've got 8 and 4, and therefore 8 and 5. I want to just keep thinking about this line now for a second. This is 7, 8, and 9. We know that for sure. And I guess similar to how the 2 and 3 are reversed, nothing stops me from reversing it here. So back to normal Sudoku for a bit. Let's just clean up, tidy up. I'm sure it will reveal more for us. Yeah, there is a very high chance there is some sort of triplet, quadruple going on that I'll pay attention to. Let's do the obvious things. 1, 2, 3. I need a 4, 5. I need a 5 that can only be in here. A 6, 7, 9. 9 is not in these two cells. That's the 9. This is 6 or 7. That's not the 7. That's the 6. That's the 7. This 3 is taking a look at this 3, 4 pair. That's a 4. That's a 2. That's a 6 to finish the row. 1, 6. I'm sure it gives me more. Yeah, 8, 6. 7 and 9 are both adjacent, so it doesn't necessarily resolve that. The 2 gives me the 5 and 2. And this 7 is resolved because of this 8, and therefore 8 in here. This is 5 or 9. Well, I guess more importantly, this 8 resolves me the 7 in here. Doesn't give me the 8 or 9 just yet, although this 8 does. That's the 9. That's the 8. And I guess, yeah, they were reversed in here as well. 7 gives me the 9 up there, the 7, the 9 down here, and the 5 because of this 9. Couldn't have been a 9 down there. And now we can finish up with a 1, a 3, and the last remaining digit is a 5. And if I've not made any mistakes, that's the solution to today's puzzle. So it's definitely an involved puzzle. I mean, I probably could have used the red lines a little bit earlier. I guess I was systematically going through the things that I'm more used to, like the Kropki Dots. Not quite killer cages, but effectively the same. I probably could have avoided, I don't know, could I have actually avoided having to think this hard through the white Kropki Dots in column 4 and just jumped onto the red lines? Maybe. That may have been a quicker solve, not sure. But it's a lovely puzzle, Willpower, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed the puzzle and the video. And I'll see you back for the next one. Bye for now.